The first and easiest step in the NXTurtle is attaching the snap clips to the bottom of the NXT brick. The snap clips go in each corner, one per corner. The NXTurtle is made up of 5 basic parts: the chassis, the motors, the stabilization rod, and the swivel wheel. Let's start by building the first part of the chassis. Take a long L-beam, 3 snappy axles, and 1 long snappy axle. I call them snappy axles because they just clip in, like normal axles, except snappy. Place 1 near the bottom, 2 near the top, and the long snappy axle goes right next to that large oblong-shaped hole. Snap it all the way through, and you're done. Now, build another one, except this time it needs to be mirrored. The two should look opposite of each other, like you stuck a mirror in between them. That should do it for these 2 pieces. Next, you'll need a 13-hole Technic beam. Next, place 2 short black snappy axles at the end of this Technic beam. Set aside 2 11-hole Technic beams for later. Now, take 2 more large L's and 4 short snappy axles. Attach the snappy axles just like before, except this time, replace the long black snappy axle with a short black snappy axle, keeping the 2 at the top and the 1 at the bottom. Remember to build 2 of these, except the second one needs to be mirrored. Now, we're going to start assembling the chassis. Take your 2 L-beams with the long black snappy axles and attach one of those 11-hole Technic beams you saved off for later. Notice there's a gap between the right-hand edge of the 11-hole Technic beam and where I snap in the large L. This is mirrored on the other side. Next, take 2 long 15-hole Technic beams and attach them to the bottom of the 2 large L's. Remember to leave a gap between the top of the 15-hole Technic beam and the L. Do the same thing to the other side, except this time there will be no gap between the top of the 15-hole Technic beam and where you snap in the snappy axle. Now, place an 11-hole Technic beam on the 2 snappy axles on each side you haven't used up yet. There will be a gap here. Now, take 2 13-hole Technic beams and attach 1 on each side of the chassis. 1 snaps on to where the long snappy axles are, and 1 snaps on with 2 snappy axles to the end. Center the NXT brick in the center of these 2 13-hole Technic beams and snap it on. You have now completed the chassis. Let's move on. To assemble the motor, you'll need a wheel, a bushing, an axle of any length of your choice, really. Just don't make it too long. One of those weird L things. And, of course, a motor. To start, take your axle and attach it to the bushing. It doesn't matter where on the bushing you attach it. It'll center itself out. Push this into the motor and level it with your hands on the other side. Make sure you level it. Then center the bushing onto the motor. Next, make sure you use the flatter side of the wheel included in the kit. If you use the other side, the rubber will rub on the motor. Attach this to the axle. You've attached the wheel. Good job. Now all that's left to finish this motor module is to attach the funky L thing. Attach it with the posts facing the front of the motor. Just clip it in, and you're done. Make another one of these, except make it mirrored. Now, take two H's and snap one into the other. Attach these onto the bottoms of the motors, opposite the side of the wheels. Now, you're done. Again, make sure they're mirrored. To attach the motors to the chassis, just take those funky L-looking pieces and attach them 2 holes down from where that long 13-hole Technic beam is attached. Once you do this, the hardest is pretty much over. Attach the other one in the same spot and flip it over. Now all you need to do is clip in those funny looking H things. This may take a little work. Now, take 2 snappy axles and snap them in the H that's closest to the front. Take a 15-hole connector beam and connect it to the 2 H's and the 2 snappy axles. Now the chassis is done. To build the swivel wheel, you'll need a few parts. First, start with a 5-length axle and attach in one of those 90-degree converter pieces and 2 bushings. Well, half bushings, really. Next, take your 2 short L pieces and attach in the 2 of those weird connector pieces you made. Next, take your axle and thread it through the wheel. It may take a little work, but attach this then to the ends of those L-looking pieces. The hardest part is keeping those connectors on the whole time. Make sure you don't squeeze it down so tight that the wheel won't spin. Next, take a reasonably long axle and put a half bushing on it. Remember, it doesn't really matter where on there you put it. You'll even it out later. Push it through the 2 connectors and level it on the bottom. Then, center that yellow piece. Now, just thread it through the middle hole on the back of the NXT brick and attach that bushing. You've now completed the chassis. All that's left is to connect the wires. Attach one into port B. Attach this to the left motor. Attach the next wire into port C. This will control the right motor. Make sure you manage the cables appropriately. You don't want them getting tangled up in the wheels. This next segment is going to show you how to build the remote. It doesn't really matter how you build the remote, just make sure it has 2 touch sensors. I just used 2 snappy axles and connected 2 touch sensors into it, 1 on each side. Connect them into ports 1 and 2 on your NXT brick and you're done. Make sure there's 2 touch sensors and they're connected into 1 and 2. My next video will show you how to program this to use the Bluetooth. I hope you enjoyed it.